Would you be the jerk for ruining your friend's vacation? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for signing my kids up for public school behind my wife's back? So I, 36-year-old male, am a dad to 6-year-old twins, and my wife, 28-year-old female, is a stay-at-home mom who has recently gone full crunchy mom mode. She's all about essential oils, no processed foods, cloth diapers when they were babies, and she's absolutely against anything mainstream. For the longest time, I didn't mind because a lot of it is about healthy living, and I want the best for our kids. But things are starting to get way out of control. The latest issue is that my wife is dead set on homeschooling the twins. She's convinced that public school is toxic and that our kids won't thrive in a system that's designed to make them little robots. She even has a few friends in her crunchy mom group who homeschooled their kids, and she's been talking nonstop about joining their co-op. I've expressed my concerns about this from the beginning. I work full-time, and I don't think she realizes how hard it's going to be to manage homeschooling 2 kids at the same time while giving them a proper education. But she won't hear it. Anytime I bring up public school, she shuts it down immediately, saying that she doesn't want the twins to get bullied, or that we'll lose control of what they're learning. I just don't think homeschooling is realistic, and I can't see how she'll keep them on any sort of consistent schedule. I gave her time to prove me wrong over the summer, thinking maybe she would ease into it and have a plan. Instead, she's spent most of the time bouncing between different unschooling philosophies and signing them up for random activities with her crunchy mom friends. The kids are constantly bored, and I've seen them starting to fall behind. I'm not proud to admit it, but I went behind her back and enrolled the twins in public school for the fall. I told her a few weeks before school started, and she absolutely lost it. She accused me of betraying her and said I was undermining her role as a mother. She keeps saying that I don't trust her to raise our kids, which isn't true. I just don't think she's prepared to handle homeschooling, and I don't want the twins to suffer because of it. She spent the whole first week of school trying to make me feel guilty by saying the twins are miserable and that I've ruined their childhoods by forcing them into the system. The thing is, as far as I can tell, the twins actually loved their first week of school. They've made friends and like their teacher, but my wife keeps insisting they're just pretending to like it to make me happy. Now she's talking about pulling them out mid-year and starting over with her homeschooling plan, but I'm putting my foot down. I want the best for my kids, and I honestly think public school is the right choice for them right now. My wife is making me feel like I'm the bad guy for going behind her back and forcing them into something she was so against. Am I the jerk for enrolling the twins in public school without her consent? Should I have handled it differently? I'm starting to feel really guilty about what this is doing to my wife. Look, I've got nothing against anybody that's all about essential oils, and I think there's actually a lot of value to no processed foods and even cloth diapers, just from the perspective of the amount of money you would save. But I can't personally act like I'm totally on board with the concept of unschooling. Unschooling sounds like a very scary term to me, and I don't really believe in the efficacy of homeschooling. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I feel like you'd honestly just have a better shot in public education anyways. I've heard of Montessori, which is more of a real-world approach to learning, which is something. It's better than whatever unschooling seems to be. I mean, I gotta admit, I'm definitely ignorant on the subject, but just a quick Google says it encourages exploration of activities initiated by the children themselves. So, kind of similar to Montessori, but the children are the curriculum directors? Is that what I'm getting? I just gotta say, unless you're in a location where your public education system is actually horrendous, or maybe even is in a place where they're teaching something you ideologically don't believe in, like it's more of a creationism type thing, unless something like that's going on, I think OP's clearly not the jerk. And all I've blabbed about doesn't even touch on the fact of how limited their social lives and experiences will be if they're not in public education. Prairie Mountain Zen commented, "Not the jerk. Your wife was dead set on homeschooling, but it doesn't seem like she had any actual plans or learning program in place. Keeping kids away from other children isn't fair either. You don't just learn math, reading, and science in school. You also learn social skills and how to interact with all sorts of different people who are from different backgrounds and walks of life. You also learn how to navigate different social situations, which is beneficial even if those situations are negative, i.e., kids being rude, loud, etc., as it gets them familiar with navigating the different situations they will encounter outside of school as they grow up. It sounds like you try to discuss your feelings about this multiple times with your wife, but each time she shut the conversation down. You are concerned about your children being isolated in a bubble, and that is valid. Was it wrong to go behind her back and enroll the kids in school despite your wife's wishes? That's debatable. You weren't acting out of malice, but out of concern for the well-being of your kids. I'm not sure how else you could have handled this, and you did what you feel is in their best interest. Chemical Mood 9699 commented, this. At 64, I've forgotten a lot that I was taught in school. A lot was useless. But the interaction, friends, I still have some from primary school, are vital. I'm very skeptical about homeschooling unless there is a real distance-based need. Too many parents use it to brainwash their children with nutter-level religious BS. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for hiding my boyfriend's anime body pillow while my parents were visiting? My boyfriend, male 32, and I, female 27, have been together for a year. He's only met my parents once over the holidays last year because they live pretty far away. They've been visiting this past week, and since he and I just moved in together, they were excited to see our new place and get to know my boyfriend a little more. We have an extra bedroom, and this has become my boyfriend's gaming room for the most part, but we agreed when guests come over it would be a second bedroom. He really likes video games, and anime in particular, so he has a lot of toys and artwork that he's collected over the years from different games and such. One thing he has is this anime body pillow that features a sexy anime girl on it. He also has a mousepad for his gaming computer that resembles a busty anime girl. Before my parents came over, I asked him to take down his toys and stuff so they could be comfortable. I was upset to see that he left the body pillow and the mousepad in place. I don't really feel comfortable with either item, but he's really into anime, so I've always kind of left it alone. But I absolutely didn't think it was appropriate to leave it there when my parents would be staying over. I took the cover off the body pillow and put the pillow in the closet, and I put the mousepad in a drawer in our room. When my parents arrived and we showed them to their room, my boyfriend noticed the missing pillow and mousepad. Later, when we were in bed, he brought it up to me and asked why I hid them. I told him I didn't think my parents would feel comfortable with those things in the bedroom, and when they leave, we can put them back. My boyfriend got really upset. He told me that he feels like I'm ashamed of his interest in anime. He said he'd spent his whole life feeling like people think he's weird for being into anime, and he didn't expect his own girlfriend to be just like everyone else. The next day, I noticed him taking some of his manga books off our bookshelf and putting them into a box. I asked him why, and he said something like, "I'm putting them away so you don't have to look at them anymore." I feel really bad. I feel like I hurt him, but I just really didn't think my parents would feel comfortable sleeping in a room with those items. But now he's just acting so distant and cold, and he's not really engaging with my parents at all. They keep asking me what's wrong, and I don't know what to say. Am I the jerk? So ultimately, I don't think OP's the jerk here. I think this is one of those situations where you just kind of have to have common sense. This isn't about judging his interests or shaming him. This is about being respectable and presentable to their parents. Honestly, I probably wouldn't think twice if I had a Yu-Gi-Oh poster or something on the wall. But you gotta recognize there's a level of decorum that is being blatantly ignored and disrespected when you leave out your big busty mouse pad just sitting out. I mean, it's got about as much tact as some teenage trope poster of a woman on a car hood, and you know what level of attire they're usually in. It's not a "I hate your preferences or hobbies" or you expressing them. It's a "Hey, can you put the boobs away when my parents are home?" I mean, let's put it this way. Is anybody going to feel comfortable visiting somebody else's house and sleeping in a bed that has an anime sexualized body pillow on it? Like, I would just be perpetually afraid that I'm gonna lift the covers and the covers are going to crack, snapple, and pop like a bowl of Rice Krispies. Talking Mice commented, "There's a huge difference between anime and video game decorations and sexualized anime content. A busty mousepad and a sexy body pillow would most definitely make anyone feel uncomfortable. I get that it's his space too, but I think a small amount of compromise for a limited time isn't a problem at all. You might see it as you being embarrassed of his interests, but the reality is most people aren't comfortable with sexualized decor. It's not about anime at all." Not the jerk, he really needs to have more consideration for others. Beneficial Ad 4047 commented, "Add to that the bit where he accuses her of being ashamed of him and goes out of his way to get his anime stuff out of her sight. Is this gaslighting? This is a manipulative move meant to do nothing other than to make her feel guilty, and it has worked. And to top it all off, he's pouting like a 10-year-old. Our next story is, am I the jerk for standing my ground on taking a car back that I gifted to a 19-year-old? This is not my child, but the child of my significant other. First, said child said that he couldn't get a job because he didn't have a car. Well, I was planning on getting a new car, so I said he could have the car for free. A 2009 GMC Yukon Denali XL with about $150,000 on it, as long as he obtained a full-time job within 2 months. The registration was paid for, as well as 6 months of insurance, so I took the job excuse off the table. I stated title wouldn't be signed over until the stipulations had been met. This was back in May. He has had multiple job opportunities, but they haven't been what he wanted. Now he says he just doesn't want a full-time job right now, unless it was working with animals, which he has no experience in, therefore nobody will hire him. I even told him that the local pet store was hiring almost 3 weeks ago, yet no job. My friends are telling me I'm a jerk for taking the car back, but it's still in my name, and it's just rotting in his driveway, and he's now just outright refusing to work. I'm actually kind of confused on how OP would be the jerk here. There was a full-time job stipulation within 2 months. If I'm following correctly, OP said that they didn't get a full-time job within those 2 months, right? Job offers aren't the same thing as having a full-time job. It's kind of analogous to the whole concept of an idea is not a patentable object. Just because you have a theoretical thing, a job offer, it doesn't mean you have a full-time job. It doesn't mean you have a product or an item or a thing that's patentable. You can't just say, I declare bankruptcy. EMD Boy commented, not the jerk. The car was a reward for something he hasn't done yet. Maybe taking the car will give him the motivation to actually do the task. OP responded saying, that is what I was thinking as well, but a part of me is just done with playing the job game. Sure, he doesn't want to work at Home Depot. According to him, he just wants to work with animals and won't settle for anything job he doesn't like or want. Well, buddy, I got him into an animal shelter as a volunteer to get some experience and training, but he refused to work for free. Our next story is, am I the jerk for reminding my aunt her husband left her for a younger woman because she wouldn't stop bothering my brother who was dumped for an older guy? I, 18-year-old female, and my brother, 17-year-old male, have an aunt, 50s, Ruby, well known in my family for being troublesome. My brother Jay had a girlfriend of 2 years who's recently broken up with him. I don't know why and didn't ask since it's really not my business. I have supported him post-breakup and provided support and advice and everything in between. My parents and I have all saw how sad this breakup made him and we've all supported him. A week ago, we found out this girl is now dating a boy 2 years older than her. My aunt's ex-husband divorced her a year ago because of personal issues. He happened to start dating a younger woman, 20s, who he met after they divorced. Contrary to what you may be thinking right now, he did not divorce her just because of this woman. He divorced her because she was being a jerk to him and he happened to find someone else after. We were having dinner together and Aunt Ruby asked my brother Jay how his girlfriend was. Jay awkwardly said they broke up and she's dating an older guy. Aunt started laughing hysterically. She started going on a rant about how she knew that girl was too good for him. My poor brother was just awkwardly sitting there and no one even tried to defend him. I was trying to tell her to stop. Then Aunt said, no wonder she wanted to break up with you because older guys love young girls. I snorted. I said that's actually so true. I don't think it's 100% true. I was being sarcastic, but I said it to support what I would say next. I said her husband did leave her for a younger girl, so that is true. I told her she shouldn't be talking. My aunt got so embarrassed and stayed silent for the whole dinner. My brother laughed and my parents didn't say a word, which is weird since I expected them to reprimand me. Looking back on it, I honestly think they agreed with me. I didn't yell or scream or anything like that. I said this comment in the most normal, maybe sarcastic voice, but I'm regretting it because I feel rude. Am I the jerk here? Edit, wow, this is blowing up. Since it's getting attention, I wanted to address a few things. No, I don't know for sure whether my uncle was seeing younger women behind my aunt's back before the divorce. I don't think it matters. Actually, if it really was true, then it would make Aunt's point even stronger because older guys love young girls, right, Auntie? While I personally don't think it's true all the time, it was more of a move to point out how Aunt's statement described her own situation. My parents have not brought up the incident yet. I think they were both secretly waiting for someone to call her out but too scared to do it themselves, especially my mom, her sister, who grew up alongside golden child Ruby. I'm not going to get into the whole thing here, but that was basically the dynamic summed in one sentence. Edit 2, my brother has always been nothing but loving and kind to his now ex-girlfriend. If something was up with them, we would have already known. Obviously, if he was a jerk to his girlfriend, then I would be on Ant's side, but that's not the case here. Thank you all for the support. I definitely did not expect this much. Yeah, I think OP's not the jerk here. I think it was fair game. She was the one laying it out there, and maybe it's okay enough if he's taking it in stride or whatever, but he clearly wasn't feeling it and she kept going on about it, so hey, I think all really OP did was point out the hypocrisy and stuck up for him. Canyon Moon commented, sounds like a classic freak around and find out. And even if you were rude, you protected your brother when your parents honestly failed to do so. Never feel bad about that. Not the jerk. Archlith commented, given that the parents never said anything, I'm guessing they were probably thinking something similar to what OP said. Still sucks they didn't stand up for their brother, but at least they're not trying to force an apology from OP. As far as parents and Am I the Jerk here, they'd get a 6 out of 10. Not great, but at least not outright awful. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my sister she's insane for taking the door off of her daughter's bedroom door as punishment? I, 34-year-old female, told my little sister, 32-year-old female, that she was turning into our mentally unstable mother and was ruining her relationship with her daughter Sydney, 12 years old, just like our mother did with us. For context, Sydney is a really good girl. She's homeschooled, very sheltered, heavily involved in Girl Scouts, etc. My sister controls literally every aspect of her life. Sydney has been acting out lately, for example, saying no to chores and refusing to cooperate, something I think is pretty normal for this age. I have 4 kids, 3 of which have gone through puberty. It's obvious to me that Sydney is acting out as a way to establish some independence and doesn't have the tools to be able to express this need to my sister. Defiance is obviously something that needs to be addressed, but I think my sister would have a much better outcome with a compassionate conversation with Sydney. I know it's not my place, but I believe with my whole heart that it's time for her to let Sydney know she is so proud of her and trusts her to do her best to make good choices. And also is going to be giving her more freedoms to positively reinforce her good choices, not the opposite. Also, 2 days after this whole ordeal, Sydney started her first period. So I know this was all likely a hormonal surge and should have been met with compassion, not anger and punishment. Anyway, Sydney didn't want to go to Girl Scouts. She had to compete against the other girls, sprinting I think, for a badge, and was too embarrassed at the thought of losing, so she flat out refused to go. My sister was so upset with her, she didn't ask her why she didn't want to go. She just became really heated and things somehow escalated to the point where my sister took away all of Sydney's privileges, electronics, phone, even books, and told her she was only allowed to leave her bedroom to go to the bathroom. The next day, when my sister was bringing Sydney her lunch, she caught her reading and my sister lost her mind. She threw Sydney's lunch on her bed and said, "The next step is calling the police, and trust me, your treatment here is far better than treatment you'll receive in jail." Sydney responded through tears, "Okay, call them." So my sister walked away while pretending to call the police. When she came back, she removed Sydney's door from her bedroom and said that the police told her to do that, and the next step was jail. I honestly feel like this is borderline abusive. My sister and I have always been very close and promised to let each other know if we were turning into our mom. I did that, and now she's not talking to me. Am I the jerk? Should I just let her parent the way she sees fit, even if it's going to destroy her relationship with her kids and with me? I think OP's definitely not the jerk. I think you would be hard-pressed to find too many people that would say, oh, yes, this is a fine example of parenting. I definitely don't agree with the concept of taking your kid's door off. Even if they're acting out, I don't believe in invading their privacy like that and disrespecting your kids like that. There's just no platform or olive branch being offered here to have any kind of constructive building on this stuff. It's a shame that when OP told them, "You're turning into our mom," they just cut OP off. Can't even face the truth when they told OP previously, "If it's happening, tell me." 410 Rider commented, "First off, you're not the bad guy for stepping in. You're just waving the red flag before your sister dives headfirst into the Mom of the Year mistakes you two survived. Taking the door off, pretending to call the cops, that's not discipline, that's emotional warfare, and Sydney's stuck in the trenches. Look, kids acting out at 12 is like water being wet. It's normal. The whole door removal thing? Yeah, that's only going to breed resentment and push Sydney further away, especially when what she probably needs is a conversation, not a prison break scenario. You're right to call your sister out before she takes the express train to our unstable mother's neighborhood. Your sister needs to hear that compassion trumps control every time. You're just trying to stop her from setting Sydney up with the same emotional baggage you both carry. Not the jerk. Short on Spoons commented, "My parents used to pretend to call the cops on me when I would cry. I cried a lot because my dad is a psycho alcoholic, and I never really thought of it as abnormal until this very moment. Yikes." Our next story is, am I the jerk for ruining my friend's vacation? I, female 38, just got back from a vacation with two of my longtime friends, Kate, female 40, and Mary, female 38. I've known them both since university, and we've always been close. The three of us had been planning this Bali trip for a few months, along with our husbands and their kids. They both have children under 5, while my husband Jake, male 45, and I are child-free. We agreed to split the cost of a 4-bedroom villa 3 ways, and everything seemed fine at first. Jake and I arrived in Bali earlier than the rest of the group because we had different flights. Once we got to the villa, we waited to choose rooms with our friends and didn't mind when they both chose ones with en-suites. We had a great time during the trip. Jake and I did some couples activities, massages, hiking, dinners, but we also spent time with Kate and Mary and their families whenever it worked for everyone. To be nice, I even surprised them with massages to give them a break. The only thing that made me uncomfortable was whenever I ordered a drink, a cocktail before dinner, or a glass of wine with meals, I would get comments like, "Oh, you're drinking again?" For context, I'm a social drinker and don't drink often, but we were on vacation, and I didn't think it was a big deal, especially since our husbands were drinking too. I just ignored the comments so I could enjoy the trip. On the last night, Jake and I made plans with the guys to go out, and Kate and Mary said they were staying in to pack. Jake convinced me to join him, and since it was the last night of our vacation, I didn't want to stay in either. We went out and had a great time. We got home at 1 a.m. and I passed out straight after. The next morning was a bit chaotic with everyone packing and checking out, but we all made it back home without issue. We had booked business class seats back, so we were separated during the flight and said quick goodbyes at the airport. A week after returning home, I got a long text from Kate saying that both she and Mary wanted to reduce contact with me because I had ruined their vacation. They mentioned several things like me drinking every night, that I wasn't acting like a girl's girl, that I booked different flights, didn't hang out with them enough, and that I was selfish for not helping with their kids. She even said I was just focused on partying and not acting my age. This message really hurt me. I cried after reading it, and I honestly don't know what to think. I thought I was just enjoying my vacation, but clearly they had a very different view. I haven't responded yet, and my husband has been asking what's bothering me, but I don't know what to say. Am I the jerk for how I acted during the trip? Edit. Thank you, Reddit, for all your kind words and support. Reading through the responses and seeing how many of you were upset on my behalf has made me reflect on how I initially planned to handle things. I was going to apologize, thinking it might be the easiest way to keep the peace, but now I realize that might not be the right approach after all. I've also showed my husband Jake this post and the text message, and he told me to thank you for looking out for me. He's actually pretty angry on my behalf about the text message. I showed him some of the comments that gave me insight on how my friends may have been feeling, which has given us both a lot to think about. He asked me what I wanted to do next and if I wanted him to respond to my friends for me. While I appreciated the offer, I told him I'm still thinking it over. He reassured me that he's here for me no matter what, and if I decide I want him to step in, he'd be ready to say something on my behalf. For now, I'm going to sleep on it and take some time before I respond or don't respond to the text message. If I do, I'll post an update. Again, thank you all for helping me see things a bit more clearly. I feel less alone in this now. Well, I'm glad that it really helped OP kind of resolve their hangups about this whole situation. I think it's pretty obvious OP's not the jerk and they were kind of just enjoying their vacation. Is it really like a crazy thing, especially while on vacation, to have a drink with every nighttime meal? Like, for a lot of people, isn't that kind of like a normal thing? I swear, I've heard like reports come out of how like beneficial it could be to have like 1 beer with dinner at night, or like 1 glass of red wine could be helpful or healthy for you. I think it's kind of just especially prudish of them to go, "Oh, you're drinking again?" Topmost3528 commented, "Not the jerk. They're just jealous and expected you to lighten their childcare load. Just because they have kids doesn't mean if you go on holiday with them, you must stay and look after the children just because you're a woman. They need to tell this bull to their husbands as well, because there is sure a double standard there. Partying? They must be joking. You go on holiday to enjoy things, food, beverage, and experiences." Honestly, they're jealous because they feel that they can't have a drink before dinner because of kids and responsibilities, and because of this, it makes them resent you for doing it. They just expect you to be grown up like them. Even though that's a completely unrealistic expectation, they probably can't even admit it to themselves. They need a reality check, but they probably won't listen to it from you. I'd say my piece as to why I disagree with what they've said and then just back right off the friendship. If they're good friends, they'll try to make amends. If not, you're probably no longer compatible, which sucks, but you might be better off. OP responded saying, "You're absolutely right. I was planning on apologizing, but actually I'm pretty hurt by what they said. I'm probably not going to do that now." This next story is, am I the jerk for telling my parents to think about whether they want to stay with me after my mom gave me the silent treatment? I, female 31, live on another continent from my parents. We have a rocky relationship because my mother is controlling and throws fits when she doesn't get her way. My dad is unfortunately an enabler and goes for, "It's your fault, you should apologize for upsetting your mother," every time. Recently, they came to stay in my 400 square foot studio apartment with me, despite saying that they might be more comfortable in a hotel. For cultural reasons, Asian family, my mom thinks that she needs to come rearrange my kitchen and cook food for me. She gives me no choice in this, and that I should be grateful and revert to the powerlessness of my childhood. For example, she decides what I eat for every meal. I get questioned about when I'm leaving the house and when I'm coming back, etc. I came home from work yesterday and the water was out without warning. I got slightly upset as my landlord has been guilty of doing this kind of thing before without 24-hour notice. As I was putting in the work order, I muttered under my breath about how annoying it was, and I was clearly frustrated. My mom started telling me to calm down. Why do I always get so worked up about these things? I was already frustrated, so I said calmly, "Don't tell me to calm down. I have the right to be upset about this. My feelings are valid." I did not raise my voice. My mom hates when I say things like this, so she responded by throwing whatever she was holding to the ground and giving me the silent treatment. Before she started that, she said, "Well, I have the right to feel many things too. How dare you talk to me that way?" Then gave me the silent treatment for the rest of the night, including refusing to eat dinner. This morning they left for a short trip but will be coming back to stay with me later. As we were waiting for the taxi, I asked my mom, a little incredulously, if she was going to continue giving me the silent treatment when she came back. She didn't respond. I said, "This is the one time I'm going to bring it up. I'm not going to keep asking about it. There's not much point in coming to visit me if you're going to ignore me this whole time." My mom then said, "Fine. Then we won't stay with you when we get back. We'll make alternate arrangements." My dad started laying into me about how it's my fault because I was upset, and I upset her yesterday by throwing a tantrum, and now I was trying to bully her into speaking to me. So I said, "If you really feel that way, then maybe you should think about whether you want to stay with me when you get back." Am I the jerk for saying this? This is really about enforcing your boundaries and really kind of in a way your autonomy as a person. If they can't respect you the way they would if you were just an adult stranger to them, if they can't go without interjecting kind of a their way or the highway when they're around you type of philosophy, and that doesn't sit right with you, it's okay to express that, and like OP said, their feelings are valid. Over Marianberry686 commented, "Let them. I'm white male, husband is Japanese. We joke that he's more American than I am. He shut his parents down hard the first time they tried this. Came for a visit and dad got snarky about something. When he was told he was wrong, mom said, 'Well, we should stay somewhere else then.' Husband just opened the door and said it's no longer your choice. Get out of my house." Took them 4 years before they talked to him again. Until they passed, we never had the BS again. Not the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to babysit my dad's fiance's kids during their wedding? My dad and his fiancée Kirsten, both late 30s, are getting married in January. Kirsten has 3 kids under 8. Dad has me, 17-year-old male. My mom died 11 years ago. Kirsten's ex-husband is alive but doesn't play a role in the lives of their kids, except child support, which is apparently taken from his income because he wasn't paying. Her kids don't remember their dad, and so dad and Kirsten are hoping dad will become their new dad. I met Kirsten 4 to 5 months ago and her kids are around the same time, and given my age and the fact that I did fine with just me and dad, I'm not looking for Kirsten to fill any sort of maternal or motherly role. I also don't think I'll be engaging with Kirsten's kids as a sibling. This upsets her because she wanted me to be the cool, older sibling for them. and someone who might babysit on occasion, but mostly someone who would make a point to spend time with them. But I'm not planning on spending too much time with them. I have plans for once I turn 18. My dad always knew this. So this is fed into the whole babysitting the kids during the wedding stuff. Kirsten says since I won't be 18 when they get married and I'll still be living with my dad, I should be willing to monitor her kids throughout the wedding. My dad admitted she's hoping it makes me a little more willing to be someone to her kids. I said no when I was initially asked, and I was clear with my no. Kirsten told me it wasn't like I was looking forward to the wedding anyway, so why not agree to babysit? She told me it would give me a chance to bond with her kids. I said no. Dad said he would pay me to do it if I was agreeable to money for it, but then Kirsten was saying it would be hurtful if I wouldn't do it as a favor to my growing family. Dad told her it was expecting a little too much. She argued that if I'm there and still living with him, I should be willing, and that I seem so resistant to acting like a sibling that it's incredibly childish. There was some more back and forth about it. Kirsten got really ticked when I said it again, as clearly as I could, that I won't babysit during the wedding. Dad said he would pay for a sitter, but Kirsten said I should really be more willing here, that Dad and I don't have an awful relationship, so why won't I give this all a chance and make the day less expensive and more of a happy memory for everyone? Am I the jerk? OP's clearly not the jerk. What are we doing here? OP said multiple times, I don't want to, I'm not interested, I don't want a relationship. And she keeps hanging on to this thread, this sliver of hope that OP's going to have some epiphany and be like, you know what? Actually, I do want to be something to those kids. I think it's incredibly normal in a situation like this where there's a kid who's way older than the new partners, stepmoms, stepdads, kids. They just really aren't close at all. Von M42 commented, I would tell Kirsten point blank right in front of your dad, you're marrying my dad. I do not come with a marriage as a free babysitter for your kids. I'm 17 years old. I don't need a mother or siblings. It is my choice what kind of relationship I have with you or your kids. Then look at your dad and say, keep in mind I will be 18 soon. If you want to remain in contact with me and not have me resent you, I suggest you talk to your future wife and further drive the point home that I will not be her free babysitter. If that was a perk she wanted in marrying you, she has misjudged the situation. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.